Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Living in the West, a set of programs where we try to provide some ideas for brothers and sisters living in the West, minorities, on finding a vision and a strategy. I have with me Sheikh Haytham Al-Haddad from the Muslim Research and Development Foundation in London. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, in the previous episodes we spoke about the vision, the needs of a vision, how to believe in a vision. We spoke about the vision itself, which was something which was a new concept to many people, unfortunately. It was to look at Tawheed and Ibadah in a holistic view in all of our lives. We spoke about the personal priorities and community priorities. In the previous episode, we spoke about the community priorities. And you said that one of the things that we should try to prioritize is try to establish for personal law, and a community basis too, some parts of the Sharia. Some skeptics may say, and even some who are not skeptics, but some people who say that we're realists, who say that you're not really providing much of a chance of an integration or assimilation for this mass of up to maybe 2 million Muslims in the UK. What do you say to that kind of claim, Sheikh?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala ashraf al-anbiya'i wal mursaleen, nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. First of all, we have to be careful of these terms. What do they mean? Integration, assimilation, and ghettoization, and all of these terms. Mm-hmm. And the second point that we have to be careful. I know this is very difficult in the West, because once the media start attacking Muslims and Islam, especially Muslims, and they say that Muslims are not integrating enough, etc., then the Muslims tend to react to defend themselves in a way that they might put themselves in a corner without realizing that they are putting themselves in that corner.
A knee-jerk reaction sometimes.
Yeah, so for example, they say, who said that we are not integrating? Mm-hmm. No, we are integrating. We are fully integrating because we are doing this and this. And then, for example, the media will talk about Muslim women. They are not integrating enough because they are wearing hijab, etc. No, we are integrating. Yes, hijab is not a barrier from integration. And if you remember the row about hijab and the niqab after Jack Straw comments, mm-hmm. and that row, after that row, Muslims start saying, well, yes, maybe the veil is something against integration. No one said, but who said that integration is the best thing? No one questioned the premises used by media. Who said that this is what we want, integration is what we aim for? And no one said even, okay, I don't want to be integrated. I don't want to integrate. What's the problem with that?
But you don't think this is the premise that living the West ultimately you accept, because the government, everything's about integration, don't you think so?
That's why, as I said, the first point is that we need to know what does integration mean. We need to understand it fully. What does the government mean and what do we mean? And this is very dangerous, because sometimes we might talk about something and the government is talking about something else, and we are using the same terminology, and then later on they will say, you said this, you admit that you want integration, and this is what integration all about. So that's why we have to be careful. So forget about integration, forget about assimilation, forget about all these things. What is the aim? We have to propose to the government and all governments. See, we are Muslims. We are different. You want certain things from us. This is what you want. But can we fulfill these things that you want or not? The problem is so many Westerner thinkers, they deceive their governments because they put policies for Muslims. And they have not questioned whether these policies are workable. Workable means whether Muslims can really implement these policies. And I do remember he's not a famous person, he's a journalist, and he wrote an article in The Independent just maybe around 1 year ago. And he said that Muslims will never change. This is the core of their religion, the core of their identity. This is how they are. Muslims will never change. So if we want to put certain policies, we have to take into consideration the nature of Islam and Muslims. Same thing, we need to address our brothers and sisters. Forget about integration, forget about assimilation. Let us find a formula, a legal formula, to live there. Because there are certain boundaries that we cannot transgress, we cannot cross. Same thing, we have to convince all the governments, all European governments, all non-Muslim governments that, see, we are facing a deadlock. You want us to change, to achieve this position, and we, as Muslims, we will never achieve this position. So we are ending up with a deadlock. What are we going to do? What is the way forward? This is the real question, and this is the real challenge Muslims need to face. And I do remember that I met one of the MPs, and he's not against Muslims in the UK, and I told him the challenge now is to find a formula for coexistence. And in terms of our youth, we need to find a formula that they feel that they belong to this country. Forget about Britishness, forget about Westernization, forget about our values and their values. At the end of the day, our values are different. Our values as Muslims are different from their values. Of course, they are talking now, and many Muslims are talking about common values. Yes, we may have some common values, but we have so many values that are different. So what are we going to do with these values? So they have to reach to a point, the governments as well as Muslims, they have to reach to a point to find formula for these different values to coexist together. And in terms of the legal system, I think all or most of the European legal systems can accommodate some other minorities with other values to live within their bodies, because they are secular and they are actually liberal seculars. So they can find a formula and we can find formula. Take, for example, this issue of Sharia and Muslim personal law to be embedded, to be within the body.
Mm-hmm.
If we say that, and again, remember that we are saying that it will not be forced on all Muslims. It will be only binding for those who choose to do it, not for everyone. So, I am a husband, my wife, all are British, we are living here, we are living in the UK, and we want to solve our problems according to this. Not arbitration. Yes, there is, as we said before, the philosophical background of arbitration will help. But we want the government now to recognize our needs. This, I'm not interfering in other people's life. I'm not breaking the justice or the system of justice that is governing the judicial system. I'm not breaking that. It is a matter between me and my wife, and there is already something which is very similar to it, which is arbitration. So what's wrong with that? How can this violate their system or their judicial system? It does not violate it at all. And same thing, we can take it one step further in terms of inheritance law and also in terms of other matters in personal law. Now, what is this? Is it integration? Is it assimilation? Forget about these things. We can say that it is peaceful coexistence. And what is the aim? What is the aim of the wider society, non-Muslim society? Is the betterment of their life. And this is our aim even for them. This is our aim as Muslims for Muslims, and this is our aim for them as well, the betterment of the society. And what is the betterment of society? How can we reach the betterment of the society? We can reach it through Islam. This is the only way to achieve peace, real peace and real harmony. And we know that this is the fact that Quran tried to emphasize. وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِ فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكَ وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. Whoever turns away from my dhikr, he will have a life full of misery and hardship. Means because he turned away from Quran, the instructions of the Quran. So we know that once Quran is implemented, then we will achieve peace and harmony in its real meaning. Same thing, Allah Jalla wa Ala says in Surah Al-Isra, إِنَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ يَهْدِي لِلَّتِي هِيَ أَقْوَمُ. Indeed, this Quran leads and guides to that what is better. It doesn't mean that, it doesn't say that it leads to something good. No, it leads to that what is better. So the betterment of their societies and our societies is to implement Quran. So we can say that as far as we are not breaking the law of justice and the rule of law, and also we are enriching your experience by introducing some other experiences and some other principles, then there is nothing wrong with that. And this is a form of peaceful coexistence. And this is the aim of all societies. And again, as we said, they have no choice but to accept that, because so-called multiculturalism now is forcing itself in all societies.
Okay, I mean, the issue of multiculturalism, I think we'll tackle this after the break. We'll take a short break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Closing the Gap.
Why closing the gap?
In this program, Sheikh Yusuf Estes and Omar Dunlap are going to discuss how to bridge the gap between peoples of different cultures and orientations, the gap between males and females, Muslims and non-Muslims, the East and the West.
Human beings feel like that they're being slighted one way or the other. The gap between the youth and the elders, the gap between various status in working, the work field, and education, and then trying to provide solutions for these particular problems.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Living in the West. Sheikh, in the previous part of this episode, we're just speaking about what is it to participate in society, and you came out with a saying here. So you said peaceful coexistence. If I could ask you, peaceful coexistence, this is not really a terminology which Western societies actually put forth. I mean, if you're going to go and live in a society which is run by a different set of people, you accept the way that they want you to live there. You're living in their society. So this is the argument they say. You want peaceful coexistence. That's not what they want. They want you to live the same way they are living. How would you say to this? What would you
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. See, this is a challenge. I agree that this is a challenge the Muslim community is facing, whether in the UK, whether in France and other parts of Europe. But the point here, we as Muslims, we have to be able to articulate our ideas and our faith in order to convince them that once you have our experience on board, we are enriching your society, and it is not a matter of rejecting your system, but your aim is to attain and to achieve justice within the society. Your aim is to have peaceful life among your people. Your aim is to reduce crime rate. Your aim is to increase the morals. Your aim is to stop this moral decline, and so on and so forth. You are facing a huge problem, and we are, as Muslims, we are providing, or we can provide you solutions. And by accepting part of our system, this will enrich your system, as well as it will help you to overcome all your problems. For example, now the West, without even mentioning a lot of statistics, is facing a huge problem in terms of family values. And even in Britain, they said that Britain now became a very aged country. I think the statistics says that more than around 40% of the people in Britain above the age of 60. This is horrible. This is horrible. Means that just within a few years, they will the number of native British people will be very, very minimum, and they will become minority. In Denmark, some statistics say that after 50 years, there will be no native Danish person. All will be mixed with other races. So they are facing a real problem. They, even in terms of children out of the wedlock is increasing. In Britain, for example, they said that 10% of the children are not living with any of their parents. 10%. What does 10% mean? It means 1 out of 10 children. This is a huge number. This is not a small number. And they said that 30% of the children are living with a single parent. Means what? 1/3 of the children. This is a huge number. This is what they said, this is at least. And some statistics suggest more. So they are facing a huge problem. Where are they going to find a solution? We can provide them with solutions if we are competent enough in order to articulate our solutions, our principles. So no one can bring this argument as an argument. And the one who is bringing it, he has a level of hatred against Islam, as it is Islam. He has hatred against Muslims. And yes, we agree that the level of hostility and the level of Islamophobia, etc., is increasing. But again, I'm not saying that it is an easy issue. These are challenges that we are facing.
Okay, so let's move on slightly. Yeah, we spoke about multiculturalism. I mean, multiculturalism is a term which is always bandied around. It's spoken about a lot. Okay, but how does it fit into this equation, Sheikh? I mean, really, is England ready for a multicultural society, or is it already a multicultural society? Because we spoke about England as an example here.
Yes, this issue of multiculturalism, there is a lot of discussion going around it, especially after 7/7. Whether multiculturalism is the right formula or we need to find another formula. And they are comparing between France and Britain, the French model and the British model. And I remember that I attended a conference between Yasmin Bahai, the lady that talked against multiculturalism in Britain, and she is perceived as Muslim. I'm not quite sure whether she is Muslim or not. And on the other side, Tariq Mawdud, who is a professor who is supporting multiculturalism, and he wrote so many books about multiculturalism. And I remember that one of the points that he mentioned, Professor Tariq Mawdud, which we all agree on, is that whether we accept it or we don't accept it, multiculturalism is there.
It's present in society now.
It's present in society. You cannot abolish it. And even Yasmin Bahai said that I'm not saying that we need to abolish it because it is there. We cannot avoid it. She admits. But what I'm saying, what she's saying, that we need to have a formula where all societies adhere to one system and go for one system. Of course, this can be the situation, but the point is that she admits that we cannot abolish multiculturalism because it is something there. And even I take that one step further. Can we say stop multiculturalism? What does that mean? Abolish all mosques? Even stop cash and carry? Stop Indian food? Stop biryani? And stop all these types of foods that we find it become, that biryani became the...
Asian food is like the number one takeaway food in the UK, yes.
Yeah. So can we say because we want to stop multiculturalism, we need to stop it? No. And now even many Western thinkers are talking about pluralism. And they said that this is the only way forward, pluralism. And see, if we are talking about Europe, and Europe now there are different cultures within Europe. There are different religions within Europe. There are different races, different languages, different systems, even different judicial systems. In the UK, for example, the minimum age for marriage is 18. Now in Italy, the minimum age of marriage is 14. So now, for example, if someone married a girl of 14 in Italy, he is seen by the British system as what? Pedophilia.
As pedophile, yes.
Pedophile. Is that true or not?
Yes.
So there are different systems. So they have no choice. They themselves are implementing them knowingly or unknowingly. But it needs one step further, that within one political boundaries, that they have to admit that there are different cultures and there are different communities, and each community has its own needs. This is what we want to achieve, and this is what we need to convince them to achieve as well.
So now we've gone through, say, this argument of multiculturalism. How do you attach it to
and pluralism? Always.
Okay, how do you attach that now to, for example, the education system? Because this is one of the big questions. I mean, you spoke about priorities for a Muslim community. How do you attach that with education, Sheikh?
Actually, yes, education is an integral part of this discussion, because we said in the beginning that we have to speak about 2 points, which is, or the 2 main achievements that we need to achieve in order to preserve our identity as individuals and as a community, is to achieve having Muslim personal law recognized officially, and also the educational system to be tuned in order to fulfill and cater for our requirements. However, I did remember one point that you mentioned in your discussion, which is about multiculturalism. Why we as Muslims are demanding for multiculturalism and for our systems to be recognized within the system, while if someone from the Western people went to a Muslim country, and he will not have his own needs fulfilled.
Yes. So how can, for example, another system going into a Muslim country say, okay, well, I want my same, what you're asking for? How does this work out?
First of all, there are many differences. First of all, we as British people, forget about the color of the skin. We hold the British passports. We hold the Western passports. We are part of the society. We are not coming from abroad. It is true that we came from abroad, but we became part of the society. And we have so many native English Muslims. So they are integral part of the society. So the situation is different, and they have to cater for us as part of the society.
Okay, I mean, I think we've run out of time here, but I think in the next episode we'll look a bit more about the catering for the Muslim minorities. I hope you're finding this interesting. Please do take notes. Until next time, I'll leave you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The